Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Before we get to these episodes, I want to thank the following sponsors of the podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com. Guys, I wanted to remind you that the GoHunt mapping app is now available for Android and iPhone users. The GoHunt maps are included in your insider membership. You can go to GoHunt.com/JScott and sign up for the GoHunt Insider. You're going to get a $50 GoHunt Gear Shop gift card just for signing up. So not only will you have the unbelievable assets of the GoHunt Insider with the draw odds, the statistics, the harvest data, all of the strategy articles, but now you're going to have desktop mapping. You're going to have the access to the mobile app. It's available on Android and iPhone. Guys, something new as well with GoHunt. Anything in the GoHunt Gear Shop, if you use the J. Scott promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount on some amazing gear. Guys, I want to remind you, if you have any optical needs at all, whether it be binoculars, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, tripods, anything to do with glassing, give my friend Cody Nelson at GoHunt a call. He's the optics manager. You can reach him at 702-847-8747. You can email him at optics@gohunt.com. You can also send him a text or call him on his cell phone, 602-399-3699. GoHunt.com also has the Summer of Elk Giveaway. In this giveaway, there's several ways to enter. You get one entry if you subscribe to GoHunt emails, 3 entries if you spend $250 in the GoHunt Gear Shop, 10 entries if you join the GoHunt Insider. This Summer of Elk giveaway is $15,000 in gear and a 2022 New Mexico rifle elk tag. The Summer of Elk giveaway started on June 14th and ends August 31st at 11:59 p.m. Go to GoHunt.com to sign up. I want to thank GoHunt.com for their continued sponsorship of this podcast. I also want to thank Kuiu. That's KUIU.com, Kuiu.com, Kuiu Ultralight Hunting. That is the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. Go to Kuiu.com to find out more. Also, phonescope.com. Use the J. Scott promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount. JScott21 promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount at phonescope.com. That's the digiscoping adapter that I use to take videos and photos on my iPhone. Guys, I want to thank you for your support of this podcast and support of the sponsors. Let's get right to this episode. Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today I've got my friend Jordan Christensen of The Draw on the phone. Jordan, how you doing?
Very good, Jay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you about the Lone Star State. You had contacted me a little while back saying that you had some news about some great hunts and stuff in Texas, and so I thought having a podcast, just having a chat about it would be good, bring a little bit of awareness to the Lone Star State. And I know we've got a lot of hunters that love to hunt Texas, so I'm curious to see what you've got up your sleeve.
Yeah, we're more and more excited about this all the time, Jay. It's we kind of started maybe even back at the turn of the year when things were just starting to ramp up. We started looking at it close. Things kind of got chaotic with the normal application season, and as things kind of mellowed out a little bit after Colorado, probably since that deadline, we've just been building more and more momentum into what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. And the long story short, unfortunately, is that there's almost 600 different choices to apply for in Texas for public land hunting. Most of these are on like state parks and wildlife management areas, and yet through all of the phone calls and research and just hours of time looking at each and every location as well as each hunt within each location, we ended up whittling it down to what's probably only about 30 different destinations across the state. And then within those destinations, you have different hunt offerings. And it seemed like overall we've got about 80 different hunts that we found that if someone was from out of state and kind of staying even just a little bit within us as a team, it was like just a simple question based on the success rates, the quality of animals, and things like that. Would I go to Texas for this? Would I drive halfway across the country to go and do this hunt? Because, and like I say, with almost 600 options, it's too bad there was only about 80 of them that ended up making the cut. But that was the whole idea, is let's just really dig in here deep. And there's very little. There's lots of stuff on forums. There's even a few articles that have been written over the years about some of this stuff. But as a general rule, it was really there's not much out there about it, and especially not much about where outside of just I drew this tag on a forum. Does anybody know anything about it? And then maybe, if we're lucky, a little bit after the fact of the hunt to find out how it went. So it took us a long time, but we're pretty excited about what we found. And we think guys who are looking for DIY type hunting experiences that don't break the bank, Texas, oddly enough, I mean, to me, it's almost even shocking how good the stuff that we did find was for guys that are looking to do some really fun stuff without feeling like they got to spend a pile of money every time they walk out of their house.
For sure. Why don't you go through kind of the process of, buying the license, what's involved with that, or draw, and how it works, and kind of go through that, and then you can kind of go through the hunts themselves.
Yep. So how Texas works is they call it a loyalty point program, Jay, which is a little different than anybody else calls it. For us that play the game a lot, it is in fact a bonus point system. And oddly enough, it's very similar to Washington State's point system, meaning that they cube your points instead of just squaring them like Nevada or Montana. Or just having a point like Utah and Arizona. So it's bonus points means kind of a bucket of raffle tickets, but they cube them. And then where it gets a little bit even more different is that they cubed them categorically. So when you apply, let's just take gun mule deer, for example. What we have found is there was 7 rifle mule deer hunts in Texas that are quality hunts, good success rates, nice deer, sometimes big deer coming off of those areas. And let's just say somebody's been applying for 4 years and hasn't drawn. That because they're accumulating those points categorically, then you actually have 4 cubed, which is 64 tickets in all 7. If you chose to apply for all 7 of those opportunities. So 64 in each bucket. And then how you get into each bucket is there isn't any pre-required hunting license or anything like that in Texas. It's just $3 per selection. So for adults, $3 per selection for adults. If you're successful drawing, there's no automatic charge on your card. It's similar to, say, Alaska or Idaho deer, elk, and antelope in this regard, that they just notify you that you have the opportunity to go on this hunt. And so it's kind of a really low risk, low cost opportunity that you can jump in on and kind of have that many more chances to go on a hunt any given year within your normal application strategy. The other nice thing is that lots of stuff, not all of it, but most all of it, is kind of that December, January, February timeframe, which is kind of the heat of the hunting season in Texas. So for lots of us, it's not interfering much at all with what our normal hunting schedule is. Unless maybe you're Jay Scott and you're going Coues deer hunting and Gould's hunting all right down in that part of the year. But off-season hunts, as a general rule, and $3 per selection to apply if you're an adult per selection. They have a number of different youth-only opportunities. They're actually only $0 to apply and $0 if you draw. as keeping kind of in that same context of the cost, right, Jay? Like, we want to be real clear, like, what guys are getting themselves into. So already it almost sounds too good to be true. $3 a pop, no upfront hunting license, and they don't charge your card when you draw. What we should expect as adults applying for this stuff is that there is an access fee that is due if you choose to go on the hunt in most all of them. Not every one of them, but most of them. And I can't really figure out a rhyme or reason why one is different than the other, but what I can tell you is it's either $80 or it's $130. It's one or the other on probably 95% of them for adults if they're successful drawing. So if you draw and you choose to go, then you buy you spend the money on the access fee. And then as far as licensing is concerned, if it's an exotic hunt or a hog hunt, then we would want to buy like a 5-day non-game license for Texas, which is an additional $48. If it happens to be either a mule deer or a whitetail or an antelope, then we're going to end up needing to buy that super combo license, which is essentially your deer permits in Texas, which is $315. And one more, if it happened to be a archery hunt, then there is a $7 archery stamp. So kind of worst case scenario, you draw a deer, you decide to go, and you're going to be on the hook for about $450 in licensing if you choose to go on the hunt that you've drawn. If it's an exotic hunt, we're looking at worst case scenario, even with the archery stamp, under $180 and all of your licensing. I mean, nowadays it seems like the gas money for most of us is probably going to be more expensive than any of the licensing or access that we would have to pay upon successfully drawing.
Okay, makes sense. And then you talked a little bit about the species, so go through them one more time of the exact animals that you're talking about applying for.
Sure. So how we kind of broke it down here is somewhat of a mirror image of what Texas is doing and how they're building points categorically. Now, we did deviate from that just a little bit because of some stuff that we found, and I'll explain that. But as a general rule, we have a category for alligators. There's 5 different hunts in Texas that we felt like if you're up for an alligator hunt and you would like to do it more on a DIY frame, then that is one option. This one, different than any others, Jay, is it's very exclusive to gators. So almost every other hunt that I'm going to mention here has additional opportunities to hunt other things while you're there. Almost all of them have unlimited hogs. If you draw a tag for anything in Texas other than gators, you've got a primary species, and then you have unlimited hogs while you're there as well. Now, they also have specific draws for feral hogs, which there is actually lots of them in Texas. When it really broke down to it, we ended up again with only about 5 that we figured if somebody's coming to Texas for a hog hunt, it really needs to be outstanding. And what we did there is it covers a couple categories, but there are 5 applications. And one of them, for example, is a location called the Copper Breaks. Well, the Copper Breaks, actually, it's an incredible hog hunt, but the hunt that you draw, the Texas category, is an antlerless spike deer hunt. So it's actually a tag that you're drawing to go on a deer hunt for either a spike or a doe whitetail. And in the meantime, success rates on the deer portion of that aren't ever all that good, right? There's not a whole lot of deer, and yet the dozen guys that get to go in there are killing 60 hogs in 3 days. And it's like, yeah, sign me up for that. That sounds amazing. So that's where there is some slight changes, but I would want to go, if I was going to do a hog hunt, I was interested in that, I would want to know that although that's an antlerless whitetail hunt that I'm putting in for, we didn't put it in that category, even though Texas does. You want to go there because it's the hog hunting in early December is unbelievable. The exotics, well, even just a little bit more straightforward. The gun mule deer is just mule deer, and it's also just all the rest of those are exclusively unlimited hogs as well. The gun whitetails get a little bit different. They're obviously really good whitetail hunts, surprisingly good whitetail hunts. A lot of 145 to 155 class deer, and more 170 type deer than I would have ever dreamed of, Jay. Like one of them that I'll call out specifically that is kind of a great example that maybe some of the listeners would be familiar with. There's a booking agency that's been around for a long time. It's a great guy. His name's Jack Brittingham. Jack has a ranch down in South Texas that is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best South Texas whitetail hunting operations in the country. And it's a low fence whitetail hunt. They shoot very, very big deer. 180 plus deer is not uncommon at all. Well, there's a wildlife management area that's 3,000 acres that borders his ranch. And about a dozen guys a year or 20 guys a year get to go hunt whitetails on this wildlife management area that borders his. Are most of them holding out for that 180 class deer? Not even close, right? A lot of them see just a nice solid whitetail and they're shooting it. But every couple of years or every other year, whatever it is, somebody does run into, because his ranch is low fence, this is low fence, and his ranch is probably being managed obviously much stronger than the public land is, and yet anything can happen in the middle of November and the early part of December, right?
Those right, buck chasing a doe across the fence is nothing.
Yeah, and so even though to me it seemed a little generic, I might be the most excited about some of the whitetail stuff that I just, obviously, again, there's 30, 40 different options to choose from, or maybe even more than that. We whittled it down to about 8 across the state, that if you drew one of these and you like whitetail hunting, at the very minimum, you're going to a place that has a track record and a history of producing some unbelievable whitetails, especially for the cost involved in how it all comes together. So whitetails, mule deer, antelope, pretty much unlimited hogs when you draw them. Some of the whitetails may include unlimited exotics and things like that. They didn't make it to the list because of that. They made it to the list because they're outstanding whitetail hunts, if that makes sense. Our internal list, right? The exotics, probably the key species are going to be aoudad, axis deer, sambar deer, and nilgai. Now, it's Texas, and some of these places, who knows what's going to show up. And in our research, kind of how we, even in some of how we dug into this, you know, some of these state parks, some of the wildlife management areas, everybody has Facebook pages, right? And that's where we say anything can happen, is because within some of these different places, any given year, the state parks produce, you know, posting up pictures of different successful hunters, and you see a number of kind of the primary species of why we would have applied there in the first place, and yet there is a blue wildebeest, or there is a cyca deer, there's a fallow deer. Most of them have a primary species that you're applying for, and if they made it to our list, it's because they had really high success on really good representations of those species within that. But most all of them have additional opportunities. They also have unlimited hogs on almost all of them, and it's just a really fun idea of getting to go out and hunt some of this stuff that if you draw, like say, at least licensing piece of it, we're under $200 and you're going on an aoudad hunt or an axis deer hunt, sambar hunt. You know, it's pretty amazing stuff that's happening within that. So that's kind of the species and how, you know, what we should expect. The gators, the hogs, primarily sambar, axis, aoudad, and nilgai for the exotics. Could be anything, but those are kind of the focal species. Whitetails, mule deer. The antelope is a little bit different, but there is some good antelope hunting for guys that would like a little bit more on their hunt plans for chances to go antelope hunting in West Texas.
Don't you think Texas is one of those places that a lot of people just assume is private land and that there's not opportunities? And that while that may be the case. Texas is so big when you start talking about, maybe a small percentage of quote unquote public land. When you've got a state so big, it actually turns into quite a bit of ground, doesn't it?
It really does. And then the other part about this is like, one thing, Jay, I've got to believe, I even see on some of your question and answers, right? Like something I get asked for a lot is guys will draw a tag and they're not really inclined to go with an outfitter, which is fine, but they would like somewhere that's a little bit more managed, not as much hunting pressure and things of that nature, right? And unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of answers for that usually. Like just the way that the business model's set up, it doesn't lend itself to lots and lots of those types of relationships. And second of all, when guys do find stuff like that, they hold it really close to the chest, right?
They're
like
not going to tell anybody.
Yeah,
right?
Those are unicorn type relationships that we all dream of. In a roundabout way, this is exactly kind of that. You draw an area that, a state park may have a whole pile of recreational users every year, mountain bikers, hikers, people coming to the different rivers and different things like that in Texas. But during those hunts, they shut either the entire area down or they shut a large section of it down, and they only allow the hunters to go in there. So extremely low hunting pressure per area each year. And it's in a roundabout way, very much what guys are asking for when we draw lots of these different tags across the rest of the Western United States, is just give me somewhere that I can go and I don't need anyone to hold my hand, and I'll go figure it out. And what better, some of these areas, in my opinion, they're a little small, 1,500, 1,800 acres. But, when you look at the success rates and you look at the caliber of animals coming off there year in and year out, it's like, well, maybe there's only 4 of us going in there. It's 1,500 acres and look at what's coming out. That's the proof is in the pudding, right? Like that makes sense. Others might be upwards of 7,000, 8,000 acres, even 11,000 acres, and they put 20 guys on there, but still it's very low hunting pressure in each of these areas, and it operates very much, even though it's public land, a lot like a private land hunt for the guys who are lucky enough to draw each year. And it's just, I don't know, it's the most unique, odd situation that I've really been. I've never I've never dove through a state like this and found all these different. It's just so bizarre and different than so much of what we're used to applying for across the country. I totally geeked out about it.
Yeah, so people listening that have an interest in what you're talking about, what do you want guys to do as far as finding out this information? What do they need to do?
I mean, the best thing would be to call us, right? So between the 5 of us consulting here now, you're going to end up on the phone with, anybody, any one of us. And this is kind of a culmination of 5 months worth of research on everybody's part, to really learning all the different things and then having lots of meetings about it and talking about it and going. So if guys were just to call us here at the draw, that's probably the best thing to do, to really dive deep into what exactly, is going to be the right fit for each individual's goals and what they're trying to accomplish. And maybe to help your listeners too, Jay, before they, I maybe explain a little bit of what our pricing is. I know we've covered that in other podcasts before, but maybe give them a heads up. Obviously there's the state fees, but give them a little idea of what we charge and what we, it's a little different being that we did these packages. I think part of the coolest part about this whole thing is how cheap it is. And we didn't feel like it was a good idea, and maybe even just taking a look at our own selves and what we would do if we tried to put it in the same box and say, okay, there's 7 mule deer hunts, they're $3 a piece, and we're going to charge $45 per application to get them submitted. All the reasons to do it now kind of go away. What we did is we kind of created those packages across, and I've mentioned that. And essentially what we're doing is one service fee per category, right? So if you choose mule deer, it's $21.73 in state fees. It's $45 for all, for that package, which includes all 7 of the applications. And then that goes on each genre. And then the other thing that we kind of did and went one step further was we did create, Jay, what we called our Texas Top 10 and our Texas Top 25. So for guys that want just a little bit more turnkey and maybe just a little bit more on the very, very tippy top of things, for $100 in service fees and $30.93 in state fees, we do the Texas Top 10, which is a mixture of whitetail, mule deer, and exotics, what we believe to be the very best in the state. And then the Texas Top 25 is kind of in that same breath. It's $200 in service fees, $91.26 in state fees. This one gets a little more broad. We do the whitetails, the mule deer, the exotics, the pigs, the gators, and the antelope, all in kind of just a turnkey thing that says, listen, I want to be in this, and I just want to be in the very, very best of each of these genres. And then we also have an archery specific, which is back to the $45 in service fees. But guys who would really just prefer hunting with their bows, it's a bit of a more of a mixed bag type thing as well, between the whitetails, the exotics, and the mule deer. And for $31 in state fees, you're in for 10 of the best archery stuff in the state. So it's pretty exciting. We're totally geeked out about it. We kind of launched this on July 1st, which is when Texas opened their draw results. And to be honest, it's been pretty humbling. The phone has been ringing like crazy. Most of it has been existing customers that we kind of sent some internal emails to already, and the phone's been ringing pretty hard.
How long does the application period last there? It started July 1st. When is it open?
It started July 1st. So we kind of had to think outside the box with this one too, Jay. We're kind of doing an internal deadline for us on August 1st. Now, there is 3 different deadlines right in the middle of the fall. They're August 15th, September 15th, and October 15th, depending on what guys are applying for.
But that's right in the middle of your hunting season.
Yeah, right in the middle of hunting season. And as far as us here at the office, that's right when we're doing kind of what we call renewal process, which we go through every single person in the company's account. We verify our point status matches the state's point statuses. It's probably one of our biggest projects of the year, is making sure everything is a mirror image of the state websites within our system, so that we can send the 2022 renewals. And so we decided this year that we were just kind of going to dip our toe in the water a little bit on this, and guys who really got excited about it and wanted to jump in, we're going to kind of draw the line on August 1st. That's going to give us 2 weeks in front of even the first deadline to just make sure that everything is airtight, all the applications are submitted, everything's on time, and honestly, even just give my girls a little bit of a buffer to make sure that we're taking our time. They're so good at everything else. They do thousands of applications in all these different states every year. This one's a little new, and I felt like we needed to just kind of ease into this and give them. That could change in the future, but right now we're going to probably shut it down on August 1st for us here and just make sure it's perfect by the time that first deadline rolls around.
Jordan, I've got a couple questions for you in regards to starting a new business, starting the draw. It's no longer new. It's been growing like crazy. It's a seasoned company now, but you were with another company for many years, and you branched out on your own and basically started a new business. One question I would have for you is, when you made that choice to switch over and start a new business, what were some of the fear that you had about starting a new business, if any, and what were some of the kind of things that you were nervous about as far as it being new? How did you handle that transition?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. This is the most humbling thing I've ever done in my life. It really is. And I definitely believe that the guys that I'm surrounded with are definitely the reason, and the girls I'm surrounded with, the team has made this what it is. I'm the lucky one that gets to sit on the phone and do a lot of stuff, but it's been God put some amazing people in my life, and they are a major factor in why we're where we're at today. But even just more specifically, it was nerve-wracking. I got a family, I got young kids. I left the job with benefits and all sorts of some exciting stuff that was happening, and I miss those guys. It was a really hard decision, but they were kind of going in a different direction, and I kind of had a vision, and I wanted to. My wife wanted to be back in the Southwest, and so we kind of made the jump. And I had to bridge about a year non-compete that was in there, and I think that's probably the biggest part for anybody starting a new business is kind of the fear of how am I going to survive, be it a non-compete or even just the startup, just getting the ball rolling and the momentum. I can tell you, Jay, I don't think a lot of people know this. I sat here in this office every single day for months and months leading up to the opening, and I sat here for 3 exact months to the day, every single day, and never made $1. And that's hard. That's a hard thing to survive through, to live through. And then all of a sudden the phone started ringing, and it started ringing. And I think, again, leaning back on my guys, I feel like our customer service, we try hard. I'm not going to say we've hit it out of the park every single time, but we damn sure focus hard on that and want to make sure people feel taken care of. We're in the relationship building business. We're not in the application business. And we love taking time to get to know the new guys that are calling, and we want to know what makes them tick. And it's just snowballed from there. But as far as I think, I don't know. I'm a kind of I guess maybe a spiritual guy. God had a plan for me. I felt very strongly that this is what I was supposed to be doing, Jay, and so far so good. He's bridged a lot of gaps that I didn't think were going to happen, and I didn't know how they were going to happen, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that we could do something a little different and a little bit outside the box from some of the other established companies out there, and we're big fans of those guys, Jay. I mean, I got good friends at a lot of the competitors, and I'm very grateful for all of them, but I did have a little bit of a different vision. Me and Jason both did, and it's humbling, keeps coming up. I don't know how else to explain it. It's been amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. But don't you think in your line of work, treating one customer at a time and handling and talking to them personally, and that's what I've tried to do with a lot of not only the podcast but my social media stuff and my outfitting is tried to personalize it and tried to handle every question, answer every question that comes in, answer every email that comes in, and try and give your time to the customer. And I think a lot of times in business, when things get too big, that's where things start to go sideways. And my question would be, as you've just grown and grown and grown, how do you continue to keep yourself and your people, grounded and making sure that you're focusing on that one-on-one attention?
I think a lot of it is just, that we've been very, very fortunate getting the guys on the team that we have, the guys that are client facing, and just, just something about them is very similar to how me and Jason are, in that every account matters, every single person matters. And it's not just, it's the relationship that matters. And the relationship is what lends you, I think, to have a genuine concern for someone and what you're doing for them and how you're taking care of them. And we brought on Casey this last year, and this guy is an all-star, Jay. He's picked the ball up and he's running so hard. But I'll tell you, where I knew probably 2 weeks in that we had made the right decision was just listening to him on the phone with his guys, and the questions that he's asking and the stuff that he's digging out of the conversation. And I told Jason, I'm like, I can teach anybody the academics of this, but you can't teach that. You can't
Right.
teach someone to just genuinely have a concern for the people that he's working with, and some of that may start with just almost a self-preservation fear, right? If I don't, I got to take care of this guy, because if not, he's going to tell everybody that I'm a that I'm bad. But I think it's more than that. I think the longer you spend time on the phone with guys, the more available you are. And you know how it goes, Jay. Like, there's times of the year where we are in the heat of battle, and I don't get the time that I wish that I did with every single guy. But as often as I can, when we pick up the phone, I want to be on that call for as long as if that guy just wants to BS for a little while, fine. Like, I love that stuff. Who doesn't want to talk about hunting,
Right.
in some context or the other. And I think is where, I used to get busted up a little bit by my peers and something, because I would take too long on the phone, and I wasn't just going from one to the next. But at the end of the day, that was kind of our vision here, was let's build relationships. And again, the genuine concern for your friend that you've spent all this time on the phone with, it just translates into every other aspect of the business. And even just calling a spade, Jay, we make mistakes, right? Like, we have times where something slips through the crack, or something didn't happen the way it was supposed to. And I think the follow through that we try to have in those moments is probably what most people don't see, right? Like,
sure.
it's hard to see that, because that's a less than 1% type situation. But when it does happen, I would stand very squarely and tell you our follow through in those moments is above and beyond anything I've ever heard of. We
Sure.
take care of people because they're our friends, and that matters to us.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we're kind of all us hunters out here in the Southwest are kind of on pins and needles waiting for Arizona. The credit cards have been hit, but the actual results have not been posted yet. I don't know if you've heard anything, but I've got to think it'll be sometime this week where they'll go ahead and turn the portal on and let everybody know what hit that is, and what unit they got, and what tags they got.
Yeah, we've been checking. I'm every morning I check my portal, and I call the 602 number to see if either one, like, one of these days they're gonna. And we drew some. We have our float service, Jay, where we kind of float the tags and float the fees and stuff. In Arizona doesn't have floats, but the customer may just have said do everything all at once. So we know we have a few hits on that float card, and we've had a few customers call in that saw that they had hits on their own cards if they were non-floated. So we're chomping our teeth over here to get in there, and hopefully they do it any day now. We're that's kind of the last big one of the year, so to speak, is waiting on this Arizona. And then we still have a lot of deadlines and a lot of fun stuff to do, but not quite to that. Arizona deer and sheep, that one's a Super Bowl application for sure.
It's a big one for sure. Are you guys starting to get any moisture at all down there in New Mexico? How has it been the last couple of weeks?
Unbelievable. To be like, I've been here, other than a few years in Nebraska, been here almost 15 years, Jay, and I'll tell you, the front end of this monsoon season for us has been as good as any I can remember ever.
Fantastic.
Like, yeah, we're getting like crazy reports of, like, I don't even dare say it on your podcast because I'll sound stupid, but many inches.
Yeah.
Of rain.
It seems like when it's hit, it's hit big, and I'm getting more and more reports. It's been a little dry here, say the last handful of days, but it sure hit early good. I hope it swings back in and follows up with a handful of more storms. I know over at the Ot6 Ranch, a lot of Colorado is dry, and a lot of the I was just into Idaho and it's really dry. But here in where I'm at fishing in the Roaring Fork Valley, we've got a couple weeks worth of rain, and the Ot6 just looks incredible. Like, I mean, the grass, you can't even believe it. I'm actually headed over there tomorrow.
Yeah,
but it's insane.
We've got a ranch right close to there that I got pictures of the other day, Jay, and it is green.
Yeah.
Wow green up
Yeah.
in that part of the world. And I think for our southern deer down here, I'm pretty excited about what it could mean for antler growth. Like, I think it's coming early enough that we could see some positive effects on that. But I'll tell you, for the bulls in New Mexico, maybe, and I maybe don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but it sure seems when we get this good early July moisture, we might be a little bit past the main growing season, but the density of those antlers is definitely going to be better than it would if we didn't have this
Sure.
moisture.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think they finish off strong. They're
yeah,
towards the end of their cycle of growing, but they finish strong. And I think more than anything, it puts the body, their body condition in great position going into the rut, which I think is huge for elk
to get the
hunters.
cows to come in,
Yeah,
yeah, to get
just
those
to
cows
get
to come
great
into
bugling and
cycle. And
yeah.
yep, yep, I'm a fan of that. I think we're going to see a lot less busted antlers in New Mexico by the rifle hunts than we did last year. And I think because of this July moisture, I think you're exactly right. We should have, especially compared to last year, a really strong rut. Like, it should be a lot of fun.
Well, fantastic. Circling back, anything we missed on Texas, and let people know how they can reach out to you guys and find out more about Texas as well as any of the other states, and if they need help with their applications.
Yeah, for sure. Probably the only last two things that I think probably are worth touching bases on Texas, Jay, is first of all, I don't think I quite covered this exactly. Being that it's very limited access into the state parks and the WMAs and things like that. When you draw these, it truly is a DIY experience, right? To include, can't take your buddies in and things like that. So maybe more than I've ever encouraged many guys before, that if there ever was a time to be on a party application, Texas makes the most sense maybe of anything else that we've really done in the past. So it's a good idea if you are inclined to hunt with somebody and you like traveling with guys. There's never been another one that's probably more glaring to consider putting in as a party application with. And then the other one is, we kind of talked about all the fees with the adults and stuff. The kids program, the youth specific applications that are for youth hunters 8 to 17 years old, Jay, is really another one that guys should seriously consider. It's $0 application fees. It's $0 to apply. It's $0 in access fees, and you got to buy a youth hunting license for $9 when they get there. So if you're between that and our Kids Apply Free program, if we've got an adult doing anything in Texas, we get their kids in, and I don't know how to make it any cheaper, right? Like,
Yeah, that's amazing.
this truly is a pushback pretty hard on the idea that hunting is just for the wealthy, and it's really something unique that we found in that whole thing. And I think that we're excited about that piece of it. I think, Jay, this could be the first product that I really have that in every facet I feel like is for every budget, right? Like, I've never done anything. There's definitely some applications out there that, between the hunting license, let alone the application, and then the cost of the tag and all things considered, it can get a little spendy just to apply. And if you draw, let alone a guided hunt on top of it and things like that. And this Texas thing, this is for everybody. I just can't imagine that there isn't something for anybody who's wanting to get out and do something a little different. And it really is a lot like going on a private land hunt by yourself, DIY type experience. So we're excited about it. We hope you guys are too, and we get to answer a lot of questions on the phone for sure.
Awesome. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
So the best way is definitely going to give us a call. Our phone number is 575-222-1234. They can also look us up on www.thedraw.com. They can reach out on our social media. We have The Draw Facebook and at We Are The Draw on Instagram. So however there is convenient for them, they can give us a call, and or reach out on social media, whatever's best, and we'll make sure they get taken care of.
Jordan, it's always great having you on the podcast. Tell the crew over there hello, and I'll be chatting at you down the road, okay?
Awesome. I sure appreciate your time. Thanks, Jay.
All right, buddy. Take care.